Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming. Tonight is our Board of Supervisors meeting for February 20th, 2014. I'm going to call this meeting to order and ask you to please all rise and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Jeannie, could you do the roll call for me?
Mrs. Ekman.
Here.
Mr. Sorgini.
Here.
Mr. Duffy.
Here.
Mr. Thomas.
Here.
Ms. Zimmerman.
Here. Okay, Chairman's comments. We held an executive session after our last board meeting, which was on February 6th. And then, of course, we had an executive session before this evening's meeting. And I apologize for our delay, but we're actually going to adjourn back into exec session after this meeting. Lots to talk about. So with that, we'll begin with our agenda, consent agenda, item 1. And with that, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions on that motion? Any questions from the audience? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, stand by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Okay. This evening we have several presentations and commendations. We're going to begin with our first one for our Eagle Scout project. And Supervisor Duffy is going to help us with that one. And Carl Lukens, our Park and Recs Director. And so could I please invite James Donnelly up to the front. Welcome, James, and your family.
Thank you very much. This evening I have the distinct pleasure of presenting this award and proclamation to James L. Donnelly for his achievement as an Eagle Scout. We have a proclamation. The proclamation is in honor of Eagle Scout recipient James L. Donnelly. Whereas Lower Providence Township takes pride in its sense of community and citizen involvement, and whereas the Eagle Scout is obligated to live his life with honor, loyalty, courage, cheerfulness, and service, and the Boy Scouts of America encourage Eagle Scout candidates to undertake worthy projects to improve their neighborhoods and community. And whereas James Donnelly, a member of Boy Scout Troop 133, Lafayette District, Cradle of Liberty Council, chose as his Eagle Scout project improvements to Timothy Trail in Eagleville Park, including the replacement of a pedestrian bridge, extension of a rope barricade, and removal of graffiti. And whereas the progress made by James through the scouting ranks to achieve the prestigious Eagle Scout Award demonstrates his commitment to leadership and service. In recognition thereof, or therefore, the Board of Supervisors of Lower Providence Township extends its sincere congratulations to James Donnelly on his attainment of the rank of Eagle Scout, the highest rank in Boy Scouts. Resolved and adopted this 20th day of February 2014.
Before you explain your project, everybody, I just want to, on behalf of the Parks and Rec Department, thank you again for the hard work that you did. It's an area that a lot of people don't get to see. It's on the nature trail behind the park. So if you have some sturdy shoes, you should take a walk there. And you can't miss the rope barricade that was extended and replaced. When you stop there, take a look down, and you'll see the danger that was involved with this extension. It's pretty steep there, so really appreciate the work that you did. If you could tell us a little bit more about your project.
Thank you. First and foremost, when I went on the trail, first thing I saw was a bunch of graffiti. I wanted to make sure I made a point to take that out, make sure preserve nature's natural beauty. Leave no trace, as the Boy Scouts say. Another part was the steep drop-off that Mr. Lukens talks about. If you step on it, a lot of dirt's going to fall off, and that causes erosion, and it's also a hazard. So we made sure to make the rope fence sturdy and keep it away from the trail, the end of the trail, as you can see. And the final part was the bridge. Pulled up all the old planks, put down new ones, made a sturdier handrail, gave it a better look, and it should last a lot longer with the new pressure-treated wood we put on there. And also, one thing you can't see unless you're there is the transition we added. The bridge goes over a creek, and every time that overflows, it erodes a lot of the trail. So again, leave no trace. We added a transition just to minimize erosion and help maximize the length of that so that people stay on the trails. The trail stays beautiful. Again, Lower Providence Township, I live here. I've been on that trail long times before I even started that, so everyone can appreciate what we did there.
James, I see your parents are in the audience, and your mother is absolutely beaming with pride. So why don't you please come up and have them take a picture with you here.
And also in the audience is my sister Emma and Assistant Scoutmaster Ray Markle, who came to support me today.
Okay, moving on with our agenda. Our second group of presentations for this evening will be to outgoing boards and commission members for recognition of their service to Lower Providence Township. I believe we'll do these one at a time. Keep it simple. Carol Gaugler, I invite you up front, Carol. Thank you for coming, Carol. Okay. On behalf of Lower Providence Board of Supervisors, Carol, we would like to give you this little token. And it's presented to Carol Gaugler in appreciation of your dedicated service to Lower Providence Township as a Board of Auditors member. Presented this day, the 20th of February, 2014.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, we have a tradition that you have to say a few words and reminisce on your years as auditor.
It was my pleasure to be. It was my pleasure.
How many years, please?
I don't remember.
Too many?
Honest.
Too many to count?
Too many. Too many.
Thank
But Lower Providence is very precious to me.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Thank
You and your
thank-
family have done a lot. We
thank-
do appreciate it.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Carol.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Joseph Sturchek. Thank you for coming. Okay. So this award is presented to Joseph Sturchek in appreciation of your Lower Providence Township and being a member of the Finance Committee, presented this 20th day of February 2014. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now you have to say a few words.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Mr. William Cleaver. These are two hard acts to follow, so I hope we hear a little more from Bill. Okay, presented to William Cleaver in appreciation for your dedicated service, Lower Providence Township Sewer Authority, presented this day, February 20th, 2014. Thank you, Bill. Now, you have to tell me how many years. Were you 10?
Yeah. Well, pleasure serving the community and a great pleasure working with the other members of the Sewer Authority. Kathy?
Thank you very much. I'm glad you came. 10 years. A lot of time. And Eric, are you back there? Oh, there you are. Okay, this award is presented to Eric Fry in appreciation for your dedicated service, Lower Providence Township Zoning Hearing Board, Board of Supervisors, February 20th, 2014. Thank you, Eric. Did you add up how many years?
I did not, but I had the most time to prepare. I had 3 minutes here, so I appreciate it. I think I was on the board for 8 years, and I appreciate the supervisors' confidence in me for the time. I think I was put on there twice. It's a pleasure to serve the community. I'm glad to still be here and help out any way I can. Thanks.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks for coming. Okay, now moving on to item 3 on the agenda, new business. Item 3A, discussion and consideration of waiver requests for subdivision 05-16, which is 220 Summit Avenue, Enclave at Lower Providence. And John Rice, our solicitor, is going to help us with that one.
Okay. Well, what's in front of the board is you have a written request dated January 16th, 2004, from the property owner, Mrs. Sparango, requesting that some of the requirements of the approval for the subdivision be waived. So there was a resolution. This is resolution 0879, is that correct? That approved this? Yes, 0879 is the approval resolution. This was the final plan approval resolution, correct? And in there, there were some conditions of final plan approval, one of which pertained to the walking trail and that it would be paved, it would be of a certain width. So the 4 items that are being requested tonight is waiving the approved walking trail. And I'm going to let Mrs. Sparango, you can explain what exactly you want to do in lieu of what's required. That the trail easement be in compliance with the walking path ordinance, and the granite curbing, which was required, be changed to concrete curbing, correct? And that's in the whole development, I take it? Yes. Okay. And there's a tree replacement fee, so you're looking for that to get waived. So I guess procedurally what would have to happen here, the board obviously has to discuss this and decide. They would be changing the final plan approval resolution in some fashion, which means it wouldn't happen tonight, assuming they want to move forward. There'd have to be a resolution that would come back and grant those waivers or those modifications. So, ball's in your court.
Hi, I'm Mary Grace Sparango, and I'm here to represent Sparango Worcester Associates LP. Back in 2006, we subdivided this beautiful piece of property in Lower Providence Township into 8 lots. 2006 was a whole different market as far as real estate. After that point, things kind of spiraled downward. Banks are not financing, the economy was really bad, and the cost of housing went down substantially. I know it's not your problem, but I'm totally underwater as far as what I paid for that land and the value of it now. And I'm trying to either jumpstart it to complete this development or to sell the property. And A lot of the people I've been talking to that have been interested in this property just say the cost for the site work is just too expensive. So I'm here in front of you, humbled, and hoping that I can get a little relief on some of the costs that I think would not compromise this community. So one is the walking trail. Right now, it's an 8-foot wide macadam circle that circles, it's called the Enclave of Lower Providence. It's very costly to build. It takes down trees. And I think it's going to be a liability issue because of the steep grades behind this site. And I think you'll get skateboarders and bicycles. And it's just a community of 8 homes, and I don't think they can carry this liability. If it was a much bigger, if there was density there, a much larger community, I think that, you know, this would be something really nice for that community. But for 8 houses, I think it's going to be a problem, and it would help with my site costs. The other issue is granite curbing. Your granite curbs that are spec'd are very expensive. It seems to be we're right in the middle of the school has the granite curbing, and the rest of the community has concrete. And we're hoping that we can blend in with the community and go to concrete and save some cost on the granite curbing. And lastly, we have a pretty expensive tree replacement fee for each property at $5,000 a lot. And again, there, I'm hoping with the reduction in these costs that I can be more cost effective there. And that's why I'm here in front of you, and just asking if any of this could be possible.
Just as some additional information for the board and the public, this was in front of the staff solicitor meeting back in October of 2013. There should be some minutes from that, and I guess it was discussed at that time. And at that time, there was a discussion about making a more narrow walking trail with a wood chip surface. There was a discussion, there was no consensus on modifying the tree replacement requirement. And there's a, I guess there was some discussion that there might be a variance required to the zoning hearing board. I assume that would relate to the trail
That's what,
requirement, and of course, you would have to adopt
Unless-
another resolution modifying the final plan resolution. So that's what the discussion was back in October of 2013.
and Mr. Rice, I didn't answer your question as far as if we eliminate the walking trail, we can grant an easement for a future walking trail if the township, you know, we could dedicate that to the township.
The walking trail, as it was approved and proposed, that would be held by a homeowners association?
Yes. It's
So it
in the
wasn't-
open space, yeah.
Okay, and that, the open space is staying with the development too, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Bill, could you show us where the walking trail is on this plan?
It's, yeah, 6 of 10.
There it is.
Does it go around the backs of the homes?
Yes, it does.
And then, are there any sidewalks in this community? So there are sidewalks in front of the houses, and then the walking trail would be behind the houses?
Yes.
Okay.
The back of that development would be the drop-off to the creek, would it not?
Yeah, it's pretty steep,
Okay.
especially the grades right over there on the right. That
Yeah.
would really be fun.
Right down into the creek. Yeah.
Oh, one other thing, with regard to the tree replacement, you said it's required 5,000 per lot. Did you have a proposal of what you were proposing?
No.
Okay, okay.
I'll leave that up to you.
Those are the only questions I had, thank you.
Okay. So let's take this, we're going to give you some direction so that
Okay.
you know where to go here at
Thank
this
you.
point. I think we'll start with the walking trail, since that's probably the most complicated at this point. So from what I understand, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, the 8-foot paved trail was a condition under conditional use approval, which was you use the open space residential overlay district. So that is set in the conditional use order, and so that would be something that you will need to go.
And on the subdivision plan, I haven't looked at the conditional use decision, but it's on the subdivision plan and in the approval resolution, the trail that it be paved, and that it has to be paved before the first occupancy permit be issued. So I think the way to handle this, because there's a couple issues, Tim Woodrow did a review of this, and he cited to a different ordinance. Did you look at, in terms of zoning, what you would have to do? Or was that left up in the air last fall? Whether you would have to go to the zoning hearing board or get an amendment to the conditional use hearing? Did you look at that at all, Mrs. Franco?
I didn't.
Okay. But be that as it may, I think what you have to decide, because you're going to have to change the approval resolution, and if they've got to go to the zoning hearing board, that should be in the approval resolution. So I think that you're looking for a weather forecast here as to, is the board okay with changing the approval resolution by eliminating or modifying starting with the path?
I have one more question. Does this trail connect to any other trails?
Not right now. There's a little leg there on the left that, I guess it's Mr. Heiser's track, that it could connect to something in the future, but right now it just encircles the community.
Okay. And you said there are sidewalks?
Yeah.
Bill, can you point out Summit and Walker on the map, or is that? At the bottom? Yeah. Bottom. Okay.
Right there.
Okay.
If you were to go down Walker, it's right at that junction. If you look to the right-hand side,
I know it well.
I know it well, too.
Mr. Barango, approximately how far is this from the walking trails in the Eagleville Park?
I'm not sure.
I can tell you, it comes down if you scroll to the intersection, the trail extends to the left down the side of the baseball fields on the school, but then ends. It does, because that's the school, and it picks up back again on the other side of the school and goes around. So there's no expectation that it would connect to the already existing trail, because it would require it to go through the school complex.
Yeah. So you need to reopen the hearing?
I don't know. Either way, there's got to be a modifying resolution if you want to change it.
Okay.
So, when we spoke in October, excuse me, at that time I got the sense that you were receptive to the idea of the CHIP, the agreement, for, the suggestion we made of a reduced size trail, not 8 feet wide and definitely not paved, but still receptive to the idea of creating the trail as part of the project, right? And now you don't want to create the trail at all?
Um,
I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
Yeah, you're right, I did say that
Okay.
back in October, and just in thinking of all the costs involved in the site work, I reevaluated it, and I sent a new letter asking for it not to be built.
Was the original idea for the trail part of your original proposal, or was it something the township suggested you add to your original?
I believe it was what the township suggested at the time, or part of the subdivision.
Okay.
Okay, so how about we put the trail on hold, and we'll move on to the next two. How would the board feel about changing from granite curbs to, you know, an acceptable concrete curb? We know that Walker Road has concrete. There is a segment in front of the school, which is...
Very
so-
small
so-
segment.
So there's all different, there's the two
Right.
different types, so...
My opinion is that would be fine.
I'm okay with the concrete.
As am I.
Yeah, and I think that was our direction in the staff solicitor meeting,
That's
that
correct.
we would be okay with that, since the neighborhood pretty much is already
Thank you.
concrete. So we'd be okay with that. But on to the tree replacement, and that fee of being $5,000 per lot, so that would be 8 lots, it's $40,000
Right.
for tree replacement. I seem to remember when we discussed this in the staff solicitor meeting that we really wanted to remain consistent with that fee. What I don't remember, and Don, maybe you could remember because you were there, that there was some discussion with the required landscaping per lot, and that was something that was maybe a swap for, you were paying the lot, that $5,000 per lot replacement rather than landscaping. Is
Landscape.
that right? Okay. So in other words, if we would waive the tree replacement, $5,000 per lot, the township would not be seeing any landscaping that the developer would install per lot, right? It would be the homeowner's responsibility.
Yes.
Okay. Does that make sense?
I think I understood what you said. You said forgive the tree fee and not have any change in the landscaping.
No, if we would forgive the tree replacement fee, we are not getting any landscaping per lot that the developer is actually installing.
Right. Okay, yes, I understand that.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. The tree replacement fee was going to be assessed as each completed lot was sold, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not something you had to come up with up front to develop the property?
No, it'd be a settlement, I think, we just,
Basically, the homeowner's paying to purchase the house.
I don't feel comfortable waiving the tree replacement fee, personally. I think that should stand.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jill, because, I mean, that lot, the site out there to begin with has many trees out there, mature and, you know, other small size. So we need to get some type of landscaping. And if we're not getting any landscaping, we need to have a tree replacement fee so that we can put that towards our fund for ultimate, you know, landscaping trees in the township.
it is a 10-acre site, and 6 acres is open space. Just a small portion of that site is developed.
Right, okay.
And they're not nice trees up in the front. The prettier trees are down at the bottom.
On the steep slopes.
Yeah, on the steep slopes.
Does anybody else have anything on that?
Yeah, I agree with yourself and Supervisor Zimmerman that the tree replacement fee should stand.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the audience? Then we'll go back to the question on the walking trail and give you some final direction on that.
Okay, thank you.
Here.
Or we're not going to discuss the walking trail tonight?
Oh, we are.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, hearing no questions from the audience, John, can you just,
On the walking trail?
yep,
Well, I mean, I think what's in front of you is the request to either eliminate it or reduce it. The justification I heard was potential liability to the association, which, and cost. So, I mean, the board's got to make a call on whether you want to reduce it, whether you want to eliminate it altogether, and if so, the requirement to do that would be to amend this resolution, and I suspect, although I haven't read the conditional use decision, it's probably on the conditional use decision. So there's a mention about going to the zoning hearing board, but that would come back to this board too. A request to amend the conditional use decision from '06. So you know, it's all going to come back to this board, either plan approval, resolution amendment, conditional use approval amendment, either way. But it's a policy decision what you want to do with the walking trail.
And Ms. Bronger, forgive me, I haven't seen the full plans. Is
Okay.
is the plan to have an association that will be responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the walking trail throughout the course of the development's existence?
Yes, would have to, yes. That's not developed yet, that agreement, but yes.
Do the sidewalks extend all the way to the intersection in the plan?
Yes.
I can't see on there.
Yes.
So in effect, you have sidewalks in the development that are then contiguous to an already existing trail.
Right.
And then an area of topography behind the development that is not really suitable to a walking trail.
I would be,
Oh, I see.
I would be in favor of simply eliminating the walking trail. I think the sidewalks cover the pedestrian mobility in that neighborhood, and I just don't see that I think that walking trail is necessary.
I agree.
I would agree. I think you're in such close proximity to Eagleville Park there. If somebody wants to utilize walking trails, they can certainly utilize the walking trails at Eagleville Park.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So does that help to give you some direction? And so then we'll probably
Yes.
see you again with a revised plan. And so we will make a vote on a resolution change. Right, John?
Yeah, I'll bring a resolution back, the staff will bring a resolution back, which will have what's being modified, and part of that, I believe, just based on reading the plan approval resolution, is going to be, you're going to have to go back to this board
Okay.
to amend the conditional use decision, which is going to be, an application, a fee, and probably a 5-minute hearing.
Okay.
At best, but to get that on the record. So there'll be those conditions in the plan approval resolution. One of the conditions will be to clean up the conditional use approval. And I would think that probably I'm going to do that the first meeting in March.
Sure. Would you be ready at that point?
Oh,
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I
Mrs.
really
Brango.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, I lost my agenda. Okay, moving on to item 3B. That would be discussion and consideration of appointment of student representative to the Board of Supervisors. And actually, I'm going to defer this to Supervisor Sorgini, as he was helping us doing some research on this.
The position of, the position of student representative to the Board of Supervisors was created at the very end of 2012. It's in keeping with the tradition of multiple other boards and commissions in local government throughout our area. Had several applicants this year, and I'm very happy this evening to recommend to the board Ms. Haley O'Donnell. She has an impeccable application. She's actively involved in her school and in the community, and she comes from a family that has a long tradition of community service, with her mother currently serving on the Planning Commission, her grandmother serving on the Zoning Hearing Board, and her grandfather was a past member of the Board of Supervisors. And I think she would be an excellent student representative to the board, and I would recommend her for confirmation this evening.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Would that be in the form of a motion then?
That being said, I make a motion to appoint Haley O'Donnell as the student representative to the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any questions by the board members? Questions in the public? All those in favor, consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations, Haley. Welcome. We'll have a seat. We have a seat ready for you. Be careful, Mr. Getcher, he bites down there, so be careful.
Very ornery. And we'll have Denise officially swear you in after the meeting.
Okay, so we're moving on. Next item, 3C, discussion and consideration on appointment of Library Board of Trustees. We had a submission of one applicant for our open position to the Library Board, Mr. David Noraki, and he has a very extensive resume. It looks like he's currently a professor at Villanova University in the finance department. And I don't believe, oh, we do have a library representative. Lisa, you want to come up or nothing to say? Okay.
Nothing specifically about David.
Okay.
I'm pleased to have him. He's very experienced with finances.
Excellent. Wonderful. I'd like to know how your library board finds all these good candidates, because we're always looking for people that are interested. So, not that we don't have good candidates, but the more the merrier. Okay, so with that, I'd like to entertain a motion by one of the board members to appoint Mr. David Noraki to the library board.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint David Naraki to the library board.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I would second the motion.
Motion and a second. Do you have any questions of board members? Questions from the public? Hearing none, a call for the vote. All those in favor, consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you for being willing to serve. Appreciate that.
And Denise will be happy to swear you in, right?
Busy night.
Yes. All right, moving on. Item 3E. This would be the ratification of our disaster emergency declaration, which was declared on February 12th, 2014. And Rich, you're going to help with that one.
Thank you. In his capacity as Emergency Management Coordinator, Charles D. Francesco declared a snow emergency on Wednesday, February the 12th, 2014. And that emergency continued until 8 p.m. on Friday, February the 14th. In addition to that, he prepared a declaration of disaster emergency, which covers exactly the same snow event. However, what we customarily do in those events is we request that the chairwoman of the board execute the declaration of disaster emergency, and then thereupon at the next public meeting of the board, we request that they ratify that. Our chairwoman executed it back on February the 12th. That emergency response allowed us to take all appropriate action needed to alleviate the effects of the snow disaster and to aid in the restoration of essential public services and to take any other emergency response action that was deemed necessary to respond to the disaster emergency. So we respectfully request that the board ratify that declaration tonight.
Thank you, Rich. Hopefully that'll be the last one for the year. We don't have to do that anymore. Although, I was watching the weather, I don't know if we're out of the woods yet, but, okay, so with that, I'd like to entertain a motion, one of the board members, to ratify that disaster emergency declaration.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jill. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions from board members? Questions from the public? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor, consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carries. Okay, moving on. All right, we're into item 4, announcements. So residents who have experienced storm damage, we are told, should document the damage with photos or video, first notify their insurance company, and then report the damage by calling 211. This information that is collected will be used to determine eligibility for individual and public assistance from PEMA, which is Pennsylvania Emergency Management Association, or FEMA, which is the Federal Emergency Management Association. Hopefully, we don't have any residents that have that type of damage, but if we do, the township's recommending that that's the how you proceed. Next up in the announcements, we have a planning commission meeting, regularly scheduled. This will be February 26th for 7 p.m. Rich, do we have any items on that agenda?
Sure. Are you on the zoning hearing board or on the planning?
Planning commission, please.
You have 2 items on the planning commission at the very least, and you may have a third that's escaping at the moment, but you certainly have the Meadows will be appearing at the planning commission meeting.
Okay, Meadows of Shenandoah, right?
Yep, the Meadows of Shenandoah. And then you've got Audubon 5, which is the proposal for a hotel, a restaurant, some retail shopping, and a bank.
Yes, big projects, so all residents that are interested are encouraged to attend the planning commission meeting and give their input or hear what's could be happening in our township in the next couple months. Next up for announcements, zoning hearing board, which is scheduled for February 27th. That begins at 7 p.m. And I believe we had 3 items. Okay.
You've got a Car Vision who may or may not be coming back. They've been scheduled to appear. It's my understanding they haven't provided all the detail, however, that was originally requested, which caused their application to be extended before for the sign. In addition to that, you have Fifth Avenue that's returning. Fifth Avenue, when they went to testify, didn't have all their people available to testify. So they had to continue that hearing until this meeting. And then there is a small residential application for, I believe it's an addition onto the house, although that might be, that may have slipped my memory, but it's a small residential application as well.
Okay. Thank you, Rich. Okay, item 5, comments and other business. Let's see, we have one meeting I'd like to mention, this reoccurring Arcola Road Bridge reconstruction meeting. It's happening every 2 weeks at Representative Erb's office. Had another one today. Rich was in attendance, and Bud, you were in attendance. I was on the conference call. I was not physically there, but I was listening. So again, that is moving forward. The county will be working on the right-of-way acquisitions, right? So they're going to be filing those condemnations. And so we're thinking possibly 2 weeks for that paperwork.
Yes.
And then 30 days, we're told, to have those finalized. So things are still looking very good for moving up that project as soon as possible. And I think we're still saying out to bid June.
Yes, yes, we anticipate June.
Anything else?
2014.
Yeah, yes, this
2015.
year, right. So thanks to all the efforts of everyone that's been participating in those meetings, because it really keeps the ball rolling in continuous discussions, and the traffic that we're experiencing with the detours and then the actual process of construction. Bud, was there anything else to add? I do notice a difference, because one Friday night I went to Collegeville at rush hour and was stuck in a long line of traffic. Then the next week, there was nothing. So something's working. You were, oh, thank you.
Well played.
For that.
And you know I'm always late, right? So you flip the switch.
Well, then-
Thank you.
then why were you late today then?
And of course, we have to then acknowledge our emergency services and our fire company and our public works employees and our police for, again, another couple weeks of exemplary efforts to keep this township going and functioning in these dire times of this terrible weather. I think we've had everything except the locusts. So, yeah. So thank them, and I know they've been working hard, and hopefully they can take a day off here or there somewhere along the lines. Can you work on that, Rich?
Oh,
That'll help the budget, right? Make them take a day off. So comments from board members, and anything else?
I would just like to report that on last Tuesday, the 11th, there was a meeting of the Park and Recs Board. I'm the liaison. I attended. The Park and Recs Board is looking for a student representative. One of the representatives is rolling off, so they're accepting applications, and anybody that would be interested, please submit an application to Mr. Lukens here at the Township Building. His information can be found on the website. I think the only, and Carl, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the only qualification or standard is that you must be a high school student living in Lower Providence Township. So it could be a Methacton student, it could be a private school student, but please, we're looking for as many qualified candidates as possible. The other information is that the Parks and Rec Board has scheduled a tour of the board for Saturday in March, where we will be going out and we will be touring all of the parks to take an accounting of what is there, what is available, and what we think we can improve on within the Parks and Recs. Obviously, if any of the residents that are here or viewing has any recommendations for improvements for the park, please email either myself or Mr. Lukens so we can discuss those while we're doing our tour.
Excellent. Thank you, Patrick. Good. As chair, I'm trying to encourage our board members to give the residents more feedback from the meetings, the oodles of meetings that they attend. There's many minutes from Park and Rec Board and Planning Commission and other meetings, but yet a lot of times the public doesn't hear that feedback. So I appreciate you filling us in and keeping us up to date with what's happening. I do appreciate that. Current events.
And in keeping with that, last Wednesday, I attended the monthly meeting of the Lower Providence Sewer Authority, and there are several major issues that remain before the Sewer Authority, including the Middle Interceptor, an ongoing issue with the Regional Sewer Authority, and in addition to that, continued good efforts with checking residential sump pumps and making sure that everything is up to code. So I applaud the efforts of everyone who serves on the Sewer Authority. It is a very involved board, so thank you.
Okay, nothing else from board members, then I'll open it up to the public. Do we have any comments from the public? Mrs. Esky.
No, that's not my job. I'll do that later. I'm Kathy Esky, 540 Highgate Road. In light of the last storm and so many people being without electricity, I want to know if there's any place within the township for people to shelter when they have to leave their houses.
Yes. Rich?
Yes, we opened this auditorium as a warming center during the snowstorm. We subsequently closed it the day following, and the reason that we did, we had it open again, but we had very light attendance here, in part the first day because the blackboard system wasn't operational, and we've since resolved that. I've personally seen to that. But in part two, on the second day, in large part because people are very accustomed to using the library. And I talked to the library folks about that. They said that during Sandy, that was certainly the case. And they said it repeated itself during the ice storm.
Glad to hear that, and I guess most people didn't know because the blackboard was not functioning correctly, but now it is in place again.
Yes, that's correct.
Good, thank you. The other thing that I was curious if we had any system, the tragedy on Trooper Road with the family, is there any system either in the county or something that maybe we could come up with that would perhaps prevent that and have some sort of a neighborhood check or something of that sort to prevent that type of thing from happening?
I think Chief Carroll might want to add something to that.
Actually, your question's very timely, Mrs. Eske. Just over the last 2 days, we have a group of police chiefs in the county. We call it the Police Chiefs Roundtable, and we share ideas. And the police chief in Upper Moreland, Mike Murphy, had put out a query on departments that may have arrangements where people can register with the township or with the police department and be checked on periodically or what have you. It seems that there's the prevalent way to handle that is through a social service agency or through some volunteer agency. And the probably the most telling thing from a local government standpoint is that if the local government, and I'm sure Mr. Royce will correct me if I say something wrong, but the one municipality was counseled not to set up any type of arrangement like that because there's then a special relationship between the municipality and that individual. So if something would happen to that individual, it would then come back to the municipality. So the consensus seems to be that it should be a social service agency or a volunteer agency, or even, a quasi neighborhood watch sort of thing. Look out for your neighbor sort of thing.
Excuse me, is that something that we're going to look into doing, or adult aging and service through the county, or somehow?
And that's in the instance that you referred to. That's how the situation came to our attention through the county agency. Was contacted by a neighbor, and the county agency subsequently contacted the police department. And when we went out, that's when we discovered the situation.
But do you know if the county has a system in place where people's names could be into the county and they would be able to check on them?
We have a special needs registry that we maintain for emergency management purposes. So if we were to have, for instance, it was implemented as part of the Limerick nuclear generating station response. So we have a special needs. In fact, Ms. Golis is the maintainer of the records for that. So if we have a Limerick situation or some other type of situation, flood, storm, whatever, we know that we have special needs people in that area that we have to address either through evacuation, or they may not be ambulatory. We may have to provide them some type of assistance for transportation. But I think what you're asking is a daily call-in system, a daily check system, something along those lines. Again, the consensus throughout the county in the police departments that responded to Chief Murphy's query were that it's better to defer to a private organization as opposed to a governmental organization. And the one that was cited was Abington Hospital, has Operation Assurance, I think is the name of it. So they have some volunteers that they reach out to people who register, call them in the morning, make sure that they answer the phone, basically.
So is there some way that we can implement that in this township and connect with whomever?
I think it has to be a resident-initiated process.
Okay.
And I would taking a segment of our population, Shenandoah has a process in place for their residents where it's a daily, in the morning, every person in that facility is contacted to ensure that their well-being.
But that's private and contained, so it would have to be a community
certain.
groundswell to make that work, so
Yeah,
maybe
and
that's,
the program that we have, and we feel very comfortable, and it's on our website, and we've promoted it, is the Operation Safe Return, where if someone, an elderly person or a special needs person, they can register with the police department. They give us the contact information, they give us a photograph, they give us all the biographical information. So if we have an Alzheimer's patient or something of that nature leave their home, we then have the identifiers, or if we locate someone who may be suffering from dementia, we have contact information. We're able to say, we go into our book, we look at the book, we say, okay, this is Mrs. Smith, this is who we contact for Mrs. Smith.
okay, I think maybe you and I should talk about that, and we maybe
I'd
should
be
get
happy
something
to.
in place.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I have one other item. I am on the zoning hearing board, and a couple years ago, it was suggested that all people on boards and commissions be paid a stipend. I've refused my stipend, only to have a letter sent with information that it's sort of mandated that I be paid. So I have to be paid, then I have to pay taxes on it, which I vehemently object to, and then I can donate the money back to the township, which seems to be a long process in accomplishing the same thing and getting the money back to the county. I mean, not to the county, excuse me, to the township. And I think most people that have volunteered to be on boards and commissions did not do it for the small stipend that we get. So I would like to make a suggestion to the board that you review that issue and perhaps withdraw paying a stipend to the people on the boards and the commissions. Some people might not appreciate that, but I think it's a good community idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. We'll discuss it and we'll revisit it and let you know what the board would like to do with it. And it is difficult. I mean, you do have an expenses as a zoning hearing board member. There's paperwork and things. So I'm sure there are some people that would say that helps, pay their expenses, out-of-pocket expenses. But I understand your concern.
It's so minimal. It's a drive up to the township, and the township supplies all the paperwork. So it's a minimal amount of expense to those of us that volunteer. So mostly didn't do it for the money, we did it to work for the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Okay, do we have any other public comment? Must be having a library event.
Hi, I'm Lisa Yannick, 38 Summit Avenue here in Eagleville, and I'm representing the Library Board of Trustees. We have, I think, our 15th annual wine tasting titled A Novel Affair. It is scheduled for Saturday, March 29th. There are 6 fine, unpronounceable wines that are going to be served, nothing with the name Gallo or Arbor Mist. We have food from Chadwick's, Red Robin, Amadeus, and Mango Tree that will be served. It's $45 if you buy the ticket ahead of time, and I don't know where you could get $45 dinner and wine. Well, you probably could, but for a good purpose. So I would like to ask Police Chief Bud Carroll to please lock the doors. And Kathy Esky has tickets. And if you will buy one now, you won't have to pay $50 at the door. She's coming. I'm telling you, this woman's vicious. So we want to make sure everybody puts the date on their calendar. It's a wonderful event, really is. Any questions? No? Thanks.
Thanks, Lisa.
Kathy Byer?
Kathy Byer, I just wanted to second your comment about thanking the road services. We're down on Arcola Road, and we're surrounded by hills, and we would be just stranded without the help, and they've been wonderful. So I just wanted to thank them again for that.
Thank you, Kathy. We certainly do appreciate the positive feedback from residents, but we're always open for any comments or suggestions of things that we discuss here at board meetings or concerns the residents have. You know, we do get emails or phone calls, board members, but okay. If there's nothing else to discuss, we are going to adjourn, but we're going back into exec session. And so with that, I'll call for the a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting and enter into exec session.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Questions? Questions from the audience? All those in favor, consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Good night, all. Thank you for coming.